Hey everyone, Prison Meddler here, and I'm back with another video. And as you may know, I'm doing the album comparison on the Showdown. It's going to be Slipknot versus Disturbed. Just like last time I did with Metallica versus Megadeth, I am doing album versus album. And let's see who wins. And I just thought it's kind of interesting. I thought that was fun for me doing the Metallica versus Megadeth. So I decided, I've been thinking of doing Slipknot versus Disturbed album comparisons, album showdowns for a while. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So here's the rule. Compilation albums, like Disturbed's Lost Children and Slipknot's Attendance to Hell are excluded. Just so y'all know. And so is the demo Make, Feed, Kill, Repeat. That is excluded from here as well, because that is a demo, not a studio album. And neither of the live albums will be, and also the live albums are excluded as well. Just their studio albums with original material. So, without further ado, let's go with the ranking. Alright. So, let's go with start with round one. Is going to be Slipknot self-titled versus Disturbed's The Sickness. So, let's start with Slipknot self-titled. It is, a new metal classic. Definitely worth listening to, start to finish. As y'all may notice from whether my album rankings on Slipknot self-titled, this was my favorite Slipknot album, back and forth between this album and Iowa, but sometimes it's been a back and forth on my favorite Slipknot albums with this album and Iowa. But yeah, this is definitely a classic album. With classic songs like Sick, Eyeless, Wayne Bleed, Surfacing, Spit It Out, Purity. Purity, I do have the copy of that album that has Frail Limb Nursery and Purity, but I don't know where it is, so I need to find it. But yeah, I don't know what happened to it. I don't even know where it is right now. But yeah, I do have the original version of this album that has Frail Limb Nursery and Purity. The only difference from the inside the album, in case y'all are wondering, if you have the version with Me Inside in it, as you can see on the disc, it's mostly red. But if you have the one with Purity in it, it's black. The disc is black. But everything else is just pretty much the same. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like any art, and also the you don't see the Slipknot title if you have the original version. But if you have the one with Me Inside, you'll see the Slipknot logo. But anyway, this is an amazing album, without a doubt. So let's go ahead and go to The Sickness by Disturbed. Let me get there. Alright. As you may know, definitely also a classic new metal album. Definitely, I think this is actually my favorite Disturbed album. I think this is my favorite by them. I thought this is amazing album. One of my favorite albums in the year 2000. Classic songs like Voices, The Game, Stupefy, Down with the Sickness, Fear, I mean, every song on there is amazing. Even their bonus track, God of the Mind, and Welcome Burden, which they were on the Lost Children, which is a compilation album, not a studio album. And, yeah, it is definitely an amazing album. So, now it's time to pick who wins. And for me, I am going to have to say Slipknot self-titled. I think, mainly because their self-titled album is heavier than The Sickness was. And, I think this is one of the first metal albums that I've ever owned on disc. I'm not really a CD collector myself, but yes, I do have this album. I don't really know where it is right now, like I said before, but yeah, I think the only Slipknot I have on CD is their first album, Iowa, and Point 5, The Great Chapter. I do not have Volume 3 or All Hope Is Gone or their newest album, We Are Not Your Kind. But, like I said, I am not a CD collector, just so y'all know. But, yeah. So, yeah, I think their self-titled beats Sickness. Alright, so let's go to Iowa versus Believe. So, let's start with Believe, since I'm already there. As y'all may know, I feel like Believe, as y'all, I think, it has more, like, I feel like, this album has more, radio friendly. Also, this is their first album that reached number 1 on the Billboards. And they keep on having number 1 on the Billboards on their next album later until their album Evolution, which I think it went on number 3 or number 4. But anyway, yeah, this is the first album that reached number 1. I mean, it's a great album, but I feel like this album is more radio friendly than it was on The Sickness, but it's definitely a great album. I do like it a lot, though. Like, a lot of great songs, like Prayer, Liberate, Awaken, Remember, Intoxication. I feel, yeah, this is an amazing album. I really do enjoy it. But it's not my top 3, but however, it's in my top 4 though. This is my 4th favorite Disturbed album, but like I said, I don't think it's wrong with it, but I do think it's a great album. Now, let's go to Slipknot's Iowa. Now, as you know, this isn't really a contest on this one. Slipknot's Iowa is definitely one of my favorites. Hands the fuck down. It's heavy. It's probably their most aggressive album. It's heavier than their last album, and I have no words when I first listened to it at the same time. And, yeah, they've been through shit, and it's just like they shouldn't be fucked with. Even though there was one filler track on this album, which is the last one, Iowa, but mainly because it's just too long. And besides that, this album is just amazing. It's just I have no words. They were in character, you know, with the 515. I think the producer Ross Robinson, he also did produce Korn's first 2 albums and Limp Bizkit's $3 Bill Y'all. I think I think Sid's grandfather passed away. He just learned it recently, and Ross Robinson encouraged him to react to it, to how he felt of his grandfather passing away. And as you can see, shouting out "death, death, death." That's how it happened. They are really in character. They just let their emotions out, and this is why I like about this album. That's how I see it from this album. So, this, like I said before, this is not really a contest. Iowa wins on this round. So, 2 for Slipknot, 0 for Disturbed. So, let's go to their next album. I think their albums are more mainstream. Both albums. It's going to be Volume 3, The Subliminal versus 10,000 Fists. So, let's talk about Volume 3, The Subliminal verses. So y'all may know, this album became softer than their first 2 albums, and yes, I think this is their most mainstream album. I think this is their only album to not have any profanity, because I don't know, mainly because they want to be more mainstream and radio friendly, I guess. But yeah, this album did have a lot of success. This was my 3rd favorite Slipknot album, but now it has been my 3rd favorite, at least of all time. And then We Are Not Your Kind came out, and it kind of changed a bit, and it went down to my 4th favorite. So now this is my 4th favorite Slipknot album instead of 3rd. But I do think this is a great album. Even though a lot of people loved it, a lot of people hate it. Man, as you may know, it's mainstream. A lot of mainstream songs, like Duality, Before I Forget. They're one of their most known songs. I feel like there's a lot of very heavy songs too, like Pulse of the Maggots. That's probably the heaviest song on this album. And this is their first album to have guitar solos and acoustic and has more like ballads and guitar solos and all that. But I think but I really like this album a lot. Let's go to Disturbed's 10,000 Fists. And hold on, guys. Excuse me, allergies. Yeah, so, as I may know, in 10,000 Fists, even though I think Believe is the most radio-friendly album by Disturbed, I think 10,000 Fists is Disturbed's most mainstream album. I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but I feel like this is their most mainstream album. Mainly because there's a lot of popular songs, like 10,000 Fists, Stricken, and all that, but I do enjoy this album. A lot of great... I think this is my 2nd favorite Disturbed album. But, however, this is pretty much a tough one here. I don't really think there's nothing wrong with it, either of these 2 albums. However, for Volume 3, I do believe there is some filler on Volume 3 with tracks, like Circle or Opium of the People or Welcome, like I thought those songs were kind of fillery, so I'm gonna have to give it to 10,000 Fists. So 2 for Slipknot and 1 for Disturbed. Alright, so round 4. This time I'm gonna have to do 2 Disturbed albums because right now Disturbed has 7 studio albums, and Slipknot has 6. So I'm gonna do Slipknot's All Hope Is Gone versus Disturbed's Indestructible and Asylum. I had to do it on this one because Asylum was released closer to All Hope Is Gone than it was on Point 5, The Great Chapter. So that's why I had to put Asylum on round 4. So, yeah, let's talk about All Hope Is Gone. I think a lot of people gave this album so much hate. I do think it's very overhated in my opinion, as y'all may know, but however, it's my least favorite Slipknot album. But I don't really think this album deserves any hate at all. But yeah, like I said, I do think this is their weakest album for me. But however, mainly because there is a lot of filler. I think this album has the most filler out of all 6 albums. But you know, there's plenty of classic songs like Sulfur, Psychosocial, Dead Memories, Snuff. But you know, and there's one of the songs that kind of made me want to go to sleep. It's Gehenna, I believe. But yeah, I don't really think this album, like I said before, even though this is my least favorite Slipknot album, I just don't really think it needs to be hated. I don't really understand why it's hated, mainly because it sounded in mainstream, or also this is their first album that reached #1 on the Billboard's 200. I guess that's mainly the why, because it's hated, but if that really is, then that's just stupid. Because it's more about, when I think about music, I focus more on the music, not on how much it sells. That's just stupid. I don't even get that. But yeah, but it's still my least favorite, however, but I do think it's a great album. So now let's go with Indestructible. So as y'all may know, I thought this was a fantastic album. As I mentioned before on my Disturbed album rank, I think this is Disturbed's darkest album. Mainly because of David Draymond's past. You know, I think during the recording of this album, he was involved in a major car crash, and a motorcycle accident I think the song Inside the Fire is about his girlfriend committing suicide back when he was in high school. So yeah, I do think this is their darkest album, and I really like this album. I think this is my 3rd favorite, I believe. When I ranked Disturbed album, I think I put it as my 3rd favorite. And yeah, I just thought this was an amazing album from start to finish. And there's a lot of underrated tracks too. Like Criminal, that song is severely underrated. But yeah, I just really love this album. So let's go now. Let's talk about Asylum, their next album. This is the band's last album before their hiatus. I think David Draymond's had a project called Device, and it's kind of more like an industrial type. But anyway, I do feel like this is an amazing album. It says that, according to Draymond, he said he wanted it to be a darker album, but I don't really think it's darker, as y'all. But I do like this album, but this is my second least favorite Disturbed album. But I do like a lot of songs from this album. Like, I do like Asylum, Warrior, Another Way to Die, Never Again, My Child. Plenty of great tracks on there, but there is, I do think there is plenty of filler, a lot of filler on this album. So, for this one, so let's go here. All Hope Is Gone and Asylum has a lot of filler, and Indestructible has no filler at all. So this is a tie on this one. I think Indestructible beats Slipknot's All Hope Is Gone, but I think All Hope Is Gone beats Asylum, so 1 point for both. So I think that means 3 for Slipknot and 2 for Disturbed. Now, round 5 is going to be Slipknot's Point 5, The Great Chapter, versus Immortalized. So let's talk about Immortalized. This is the band's first album in 5 years. And it's pretty... and this is their last album to reach number 1 on the billboards, as y'all may notice. I don't really think this is their best, even though I think this is my third least favorite Disturbed album, but I don't really think, but there's plenty of great songs like Title Track, Vengeful One, Open Your Eyes to Light, You're Mine, Sound of Silence, which is a cover, and the bonus track, Legion of Monsters. Yeah, I really do enjoy this album, but again, this is not one of my favorites by them. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this one. So let's go talk about Point 5, The Great Chapter. As y'all may know, this is the band's first album in this is their first album since their 2008 album, All Hope Is Gone. And mainly the reason why they haven't released an album for a long time is mainly because their bassist Paul Gray passed away in 2010, and causing the band to, even though they've done some tours there and there, and they couldn't decide whether they want to Slipknot wants to continue or they have to break up. But thankfully, they're still making music, and as you may know, and that's why a long time ago I was expecting a Slipknot album around 2012, but unfortunately, no, there's another Stone Sour album. So I thought there were not going to be a 5th Slipknot album. I thought the band was pretty much done, but no, until I heard they're making another album in 2013. And then unfortunately, before making Point 5 The Great Chapter, not only they lost Paul Gray, they also lost Joey Jordison, their original drummer, who got fired from the band. So, but that did not stop them from making this album. I think, I can't say the bassist name right. But I think Alex for short, so I'll just say Alex, and Jay Weinberg, who replaced Paul Gray and Joey Jordison. But, yeah, as y'all may know, Point 5, The Great Chapter, is my second least favorite Slipknot album. However, for a while, this was my least favorite by them at first, but I just put it as my second least favorite because, yeah, well, but anyway, this has a lot of great songs from there, like, Sarcastro, AOV, Devil and I, Kill Pop, Lech, Custard, -1. But yeah, I really think this is a pretty great album, but then again, I don't think it's their best album, and yeah, it's not one of my favorites by them. It's my second least favorite, behind All Hope Is Gone. So yeah, that's all I have to say. So for this one, I have to say Immortalized. I think Immortalized beats Point 5, The Great Chapter, mainly because that album had less filler than Point 5, The Great Chapter does. Like, I thought the one that kills the least is one of Slipknot's weakest tracks of all time. I don't know why, I just feel like the chorus is extremely weak on this one. So yeah, I have to say Immortalized. So, final round. It's gonna be We Are Not Your Kind versus Evolution. So, let's talk about We Are Not Your Kind. Some may know, this is my third favorite Slipknot album. This took over, this broke Volume 3's record on this one. This is now my, third favorite Slipknot album. And I really like this album a lot. It's mainly because of the experimental. I was surprised that it was better than I thought it was. Well, my first expectations for this album is, I thought it's going to be another, I feel like it's just going to be another Point 5, The Great Chapter. That's how my prediction was. But I do think this album was better than their last three Slipknot albums. But I don't think it's better than their first two albums, but I think it's better than their last recent albums. And I did not expect that at all. So yeah, definitely an amazing album. Songs like Unsainted, Birth of the Cruel, Nero Forte, Critical Darling, Red Flag, Orphan, Solway Firth. Just a fantastic album. So let's go to Disturbed's Evolution. Now, this is not a competition at all. I think I did not like this album that much, to be honest. I just can't get into that album. I do like, Are You Ready? I really like this song. I do like Are You Ready and A Reason to Fight a lot, but I really could not get into this album. With Mainly because of the ballads, kind of, you know, it kind of got me off guard here. And yes, it is definitely my least favorite Disturbed album. And this also their first album since The Sickness that did not reach #1 on the billboards. Even though, yeah. Honestly, I'm not really surprised because it's just, I thought a lot of fans were kind of disappointed with that album. I don't really think it's a bad album. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I just don't really care for it. I just can't get into this album. And so, as y'all may know, We Are Not Your Kind wins. So, let's do some counting. So, Slipknot over Sickness, Iowa over Believe, 2, and 10,000 Fist over Volume 3, which is 1 point for Disturbed. All Hope Is Gone over Asylum, which is 3 for Slipknot, and Indestructible over All Hope Is Gone, which is 2, 3, and yeah, Slipknot wins from 4 to 3. Has 4 points. Disturbed has 3. So yeah, Slipknot is the winner here. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy this video, and I'll probably do more of that in the future. So I want to know what's your showdown with these two albums. I'm kind of curious on yours. So please feel free to put it down in the comments, and I will see y'all next time. Peace out.